I'm Michelle Lockard. I'm the Director of Product at Global Knowledge, and today I'm here with
Miguel, Amigot. I'm the CTO of IBL Education.
And I'm Paul Tocatlian, the Director of Engineering at Global Knowledge.
So today we're here to talk to you about our experience at Global Knowledge launching an enterprise solution using Open edX platform. Our customers were telling us that they deserve a better learning experience. They wanted more on-demand training. So we partnered with Open edX and also IBL to deliver just that. So a little bit about who Global Knowledge is. We're an IT and business training company. We have about 1,500 employees around the world. We have 15 offices in different countries around the world. Traditionally, our company was really focused on instructor-led training. So many years ago, our primary modality of training was instructor-led. Since then, we've offered virtual instructor-led classrooms using Adobe Connect. We're now moving to Zoom. And now in the past 2 years, we've really focused on our digital transformation, moving to on-demand training as well. And we're also delving into blended learning, mixing those modalities together. We took an initiative on at Global Knowledge to go with Open edX as our LMS delivery platform for our on-demand training. We kicked this initiative off in January of last year, and in 169 working days from the start of our first sprint to our MVP launch on September 21st, 2017, we delivered 100 courses. On day one launch, we had 7,000 enrollments from around the world across those 100 courses. And in just over 8 months, today we have 165 courses. We have 19,000 unique users from around the world, 117,000 course enrollments, and we're delivering bundles that not only consist of our own content delivered on our instance of Open edX, but also content that are delivered through some of our partner platforms as well. So think IBM, Skillsoft, Microsoft. So with that, we're selling bundles of 60 plus courses. We have an ultimate IT skills bundle that we just launched about a month ago. That's a bundle of 550 on-demand courses.
So today we're going to focus on sharing our experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and across people, process, and technology. So we're going to kick off the presentation with our lessons learned with how we were able to launch this in 168 days from a people perspective.
So I think most importantly are the executive sponsors, especially looking at the enterprise initiative here. So we had our global vice president of digital as well as our CIO really back behind this. They attended Open edX last year in Madrid, really understood the reasoning and the benefits, how an enterprise could benefit from using open source. They were our key sponsors, our executive sponsors. It was also really important for us as an enterprise to have business stakeholders as well and business sponsorship. So what we did at Global Knowledge is we created a cross-functional team where we had our executive sponsors really leading this and evangelizing this across the company, but we had key core members who were dedicated to this from across the business as well. This was especially important for us at Global Knowledge because we used Open edX as the delivery platform, but we had to integrate that into all of our existing processes, enrollment, fulfillment, and so forth. And at Global Knowledge, we actually have 2 back office systems. We have one back office for North America and a whole separate back office for EMEA. So again, we had to integrate this into all of our existing processes and procedures. Part of this was really, understanding what open source meant to us. As an organization, it was a new concept to many across our business. Why weren't we just developing something from the ground up? So there are many reasons that our executive sponsors really helped, again, evangelize this across the business and make it a successful initiative.
So starting with the executive sponsors, we got that support we needed, alignment with the business, alignment with the strategic initiatives. The next one was to really kick off the project and really focus on the what and prioritize that. So this was the first initiative at Global Knowledge that we were, as a company, we were going to do agile way. And a big part of that was having a product owner that could help drive the decisions. And so Michelle is going to share with us her experience as a product owner of this learning platform.
So I was the active product owner for this initiative across Global Knowledge. My background spans higher education, educational technology, so I was recruited specifically to work on this initiative to help Global Knowledge kick this off. So when I came on board, what was really important to me and what I've seen really successful across other initiatives at different companies is to have really one voice. We heard it this morning, kind of that one throat to choke. So this not only allows for leading the way, setting the vision, setting the goal, and communicating that up, down, across, sideways, all across the business. It allows for quick and easy decisions. So we had a business goal of launching this in September. Again, we started in January. So we had 169 working days to get this implemented into all of our systems and processes and have an MVP product by September 21st. So we knew kind of what our end goal was, but as Paul said, we worked in an agile way. We're extremely transparent, and really were able to do this effectively because we had one voice leading the way, making those hard, fast decisions. As we went through this process, we were really focused on, obviously, the platform with edX, but also our content. So we develop a lot of our own content. We also develop content for some of our vendors as well. And we have some third-party content that we host. So a key component of this was also not only getting the platform ready, but simultaneously getting all this content ready into OLX, taking it from our existing CMS and getting it there. So not too far into this initiative, we added a second product owner who was focused on the content side. So Chris Shunke and I worked side by side, and Chris is actually has a lightning session tomorrow called Authoring Courses Outside of edX Studio, Why and How. So we've actually authored all of our content outside of edX Studio. We built all kinds of automation tools to dynamically update courses, to import them into edX and so forth.
So another special ingredient to the success and the good part was really finding an implementation partner. As we all know, OpenEdX is a very complete, comprehensive platform, complex in many ways, and we didn't want to make the honest mistakes of somebody who is just starting, given that we had some time constraints and quality constraints. So we went about and spoke to a number of the implementation partners, and what we found out, there's different engagement models. One is really to outsource the project and have somebody take over the project and deliver this finished product. The other one was a staff augmentation, where we really wanted to have a sense of ownership, a way to transition this knowledge, and over time really be able to drive it. And so we decided that we wanted to go a staff augmentation route. So after speaking with all the implementation partners, we decided to work with IBL for a number of reasons. The first one is around their responsiveness. They're very easy to contact. We were working directly with the folks that would be working with us, Miguel and others. There was a sense of authenticity, a sense of responsiveness that was very important. The second part was the experience. IBL has been working with OpenEdX for a long time across educational institutions, enterprises. We want to leverage that experience from a platform standpoint, but we also wanted to leverage their experience in course authoring for on-demand and leveraging the different modalities we have to offer it online. They were very flexible in their engagement model. As an enterprise, we had specific needs, and they were able to work with us to accommodate those needs in terms of helping us peel the layers of the onions, and them doing something, then doing the knowledge transfer, and us doing this the next time around. The other part was the organization. We wanted to find an organization that wasn't too small, but certainly wasn't too big, and really fit how we worked. And IBL met all those criteria and delivered on those expectations. So Miguel, you've worked with a lot of different kinds of organizations. How is it different working within an enterprise like Global Knowledge?
Thank you. So the first step is sort of the architectural assessment, right? We realized that OpenEdX for an enterprise, especially for a program that is targeting a ton of learners, is a piece of the puzzle, right? So we have to start off with an architectural assessment to determine what is the data that's going to come in and what's the data that's going to come out. Then the second main step is the knowledge transfer, right? So with Global Knowledge's initiative or others like NVIDIA's Deep Learning Institute or the Air Force and others, they can't invest in something that is going to be significant and powerful unless they have the certainty and the peace of mind that their own engineers, needless to say, of course, instructional designers, will be able to control the platform moving forward, right? And control is not about being able to access your code on GitHub somewhere or SSHing into a server, right? Control is about the knowledge. So do you know how to maintain it, right? All the functions around DevOps. Do you know how to write APIs to bridge the gap with the rest of the stuff you're looking for? And the delivery mechanism for that was a series of seminars at the beginning, right? So this is a seminar around the architecture of the platform, another about the way you write external Django apps, APIs, DevOps, testing, and then continuous support through a dedicated forum, right? And that's direct access to our engineers and say, okay, how do we do this? And the purpose is to save time, right? Then there's, of course, production support, which even after all is said and done, and you have the knowledge, well, we augment your staff so we can be there, God forbid, if anything ever happens, right? And this entails all the work about, analytics and everything else, but.
All right, now we're going to go on to the next phase and talk about the process. So the journey is the destination. What does that mean? So again, for us, we had this business goal where we had to launch our platform, our MVP platform, in September, starting in January. So we started with our product roadmap, our plan of intent, mapped out over that 8-month period of time. We then broke it into 3 phases. We had a POC phase, which focused on proving out the technology. Can we really stand up our own instance on Azure? How's it going to integrate with some of our existing technologies in-house in our systems? So we had a 3-month period really focused on the technology validation and how we were going to do it at Global Knowledge. The second phase was our pilot program. So our pilot program focused on validating with our customers. So we had, it wasn't the same instance, we had a separate pilot environment. We first used it for internal UAT. So we had all of our business stakeholders, operations, fulfillment, all of that, all of our API services and so forth, test some of our processes and technology. We then did crowdsource UAT with a company called Applause. So we had hundreds of users going through, testing the heck out of this thing from a content perspective, from a learning perspective. Our videos working as properly, our transcripts working. We created our own custom video player. We're not using the out-of-the-box video player. So we tested this stuff up and down before we went to actual who our end users, our target users would be. So we had a global pilot program. We call them our early adopters. Many of them have converted to sales. We had about 1,500 global users participate in this pilot program from enterprises around the world. So that really helped us validate and refine our plan of intent, what we were going to launch in September. So we had a lot of great learnings from that, did surveys along the way, had interviews, focus groups with those customers to validate and make some changes as needed to our plan of intent for our MVP. As Paul mentioned, this was the first Agile Scrum initiative at Global Knowledge. So we had a program manager, Scrum Master, and our own internal development team along with Miguel and those at IBL as well working on this. One of the key components that we really felt helped us is we had a 100-day countdown, so kind of a T-minus plan. So our PM really helped us focus, and that was really efficient and kept our focus. As you're getting into looking at online learning, and we have a learning experience manager, we have our content folks, we have all of our partners that we're working with, it's really easy to jump and kind of do this dreaming. So this 100-day countdown plan, this T-minus plan, really allowed us to stay focused to be able to successfully deliver our end state. So from courage comes care. So what we've learned along the way is that people can handle the truth. We were extremely transparent with our process, the good, the bad, the ugly, across our business. We had processes and tools in place. We used Jira. We had all kinds of different tools where, the people who wanted access to see our Jira board and what our sprints consisted of was interesting. Paul actually had to go in and start deleting people because why do all these people need the Jira access? But we had weekly executive meetings. We had monthly global stakeholders meetings internally where we were very open and honest, showing them our progress along the way and allowing them to participate in some of these decisions so they understood why the decisions that we were making were being made, and they can be part of this process as well. With the processes using Agile, Scrum, continuous delivery, and integration, we were again able to do this efficiently and focus on our MVP plan of intent. We were able to do fewer things much better, and again, continuous integration. Post MVP, we now are on 1 week sprints, continuously releasing things on a weekly basis. So the project. The project manager was really key to this. She helped us bring together this cross-functional team that it consisted of our executive stakeholders and other business and IT stakeholders from across the business. We worked together to define success up front. So we knew we had this date in September. What did that mean? How are we going to be successful delivering this MVP? We also worked very closely and engaged marketing and sales early on so they could understand, again, what is the value of this learning platform and this system and this whole experience that we are going to be delivering at Global Knowledge. So they were brought in early and often as well.
Yes, and so despite all the planning, it was still pretty much the wild, wild west. We tried our best to organize, but like with any initiative where there's new technology, new teams, new processes, but the key was learning along the way and working towards an end goal and seeing it through with the support from the entire team. So we covered people, some key considerations around that, some processes around Agile, and the last but not least is the technology to support this deployment. One of the important parts is that the Open edX platform is a critical component, but it's only one piece of a much bigger puzzle of the enterprise. We've got over 100 systems to run the company. We've got multiple back office systems, ERPs, CRMs, websites. So the key was to understand where we were going to go. And we had an end-state architecture that helped us understand what role the Open edX was going to play. Some of these other systems, again, a global infrastructure of different websites, different ERP systems, CRMs. There's a number of APIs around single sign-on, microservices, logging. There is all sorts of other systems that we need to integrate with. But what this end-state architecture allowed us to do is to decide what to refactor and when. And when we built a new system like the learning platform, how does it fit as part of the bigger puzzle? And so from an Open edX standpoint, the key value that it was delivering was providing the best learner experience, with other elements being taken out of the learning platform like discovery or commerce. And so providing the best learner experience across, as an omni-channel, across virtual, instructor-led, and digital. So the platform is intended to support all modalities over time. The second part about the Open edX was its ability to integrate with these systems and do it in a way that would scale over time. So Miguel, do you want to share with us how this approach resembles other initiatives you've done and how this end-state architecture may be different than other kinds of organizations?
Yeah, so the pattern is essentially using Open edX for the delivery, right, for the learning. When edX.org, for example, wants to have a beautiful marketing and discovery site, they don't spend their time, modifying the CSS and the Django templates of Open edX. What they do is very smart, is they put up a Drupal frontend, and they connect the single sign-on and the user interface to create an ecosystem. And that's sort of the pattern that we're seeing more and more. It's what we heard earlier in the talks, right? I mean, the LMSs by themselves, and even Open edX, as wonderful as it is not a marketing platform. Even for e-commerce and for CRMs, that's not what it was designed to do. So what we've been working on are are ecosystems, right? And the ecosystems sort of bring in tailored platforms for each of the functions that we are targeting, right? And aside from e-commerce and marketing, there's also video conferencing, right? Social learning. I mean, there are many more. And this is the pattern that defines, the Deep Learning Institute of NVIDIA, Global Knowledge. The Air Force is just creating, like we said before, a learning engagement platform. So where open source comes in and where edX comes in is basically the pitch, so to speak, is you can have a learning ecosystem whose core is what edX.org uses for, I don't know, however many millions of learners we saw earlier, right? That's your learning platform. Then you can build on top of that, right? You can focus where you add value, but that's your starting point. The most important part of your ecosystem, right, the part that is actually, helping the students learn, is backed by this massive community, and it's in terms of companies. I mean, we have, NVIDIA, IBM, Microsoft, Amazon, many, but in terms of universities, there are practically, I think practically all of the best universities in the world are here, right? And now the SUNY ecosystem also here. Nonprofits, the same thing. So that's what we're building on, right? Everyone focuses where we add value, but that's our common point. And that adds to the peace of mind, right? It's, like you guys, you're not going to say, okay, well, we're going to build this massive initiative on something that we can't, embrace fully, right? And give us that peace of mind. So that's where this comes in. So then what we have to do is just provide an easy way to get started, right? So we have Deep LMS if you would like to start in a hosted setting, or we can do an on-premise proof of concept, right? All with knowledge transfer along the way, so you can achieve that buy-in and help your peers understand what this whole thing is about, right? Because the pitch is, we're going to have millions of learners. Like, yeah, but we have to start with something, and that something is this, minimal, risky thing.
Great. So again, open source was critical to global knowledge for a number of reasons. The first one is when you start an initiative, are you going to buy? Or are you going to build? What are the other options? And certainly, buying something was not on the table for a number of reasons. When you scale, the overall cost is prohibitive. Build was not an issue. Global Knowledge tried that before. And again, it may be, it's really hard to build a platform across channels the way Open edX allowed us to do. And so at the end of the day, that open source really allowed us to get to time to market. The second one is the customizability. Open edX has templates, has APIs. There's X blocks. There's a number of ways that you can use this core platform, but extend it the way it makes sense for your business or for your institution. So that customizability was critical. The other part was interoperability. The OLX standard for these courses, yes, you can build in Studio, but in our case, that wasn't the right approach because we're building courses across modalities. So elements of instructor-led or virtual will show up in on-demand. And so having this OLX ability to export it, import it back in was critical. Another partner of ours, Microsoft, as we saw earlier today, 180 plus MOOC courses. We're bringing those courses into the learning platform at Global Knowledge. Again, because we share that same platform, it's very easiest for us to bring it into the platform and then tie it into the Microsoft back-end systems for certifications and provide a very clean, singular user experience. And so again, leveraging is certainly one thing, benefiting from it, but the other one is also the opportunity to contribute back. So Michelle's going to talk about some of the things we're looking to do moving forward.
Yeah, so as Paul mentioned, one of the values to us going with open source and Open edX is the community around this. Being able to collaborate with others who are kind of in doing some of the same things and having some of the market challenges that those like Global Knowledge is having. But then also as a learning company, being able to leverage what the higher ed market is doing as well and the learning experts there. So contributing back is something that's very important to us. We haven't had the opportunity to do it yet. We were really focused on getting a product to market. That was our number one goal. Now that we've surpassed that and have a good cadence going of our releases, continuing to improve and iterate on our instance of Open edX, we're really looking forward to contributing back and partnering with Open edX in a more proactive way. So we can start with them on day one of some of our developments to make sure what we're building and how we're building it would actually benefit some of the others in the community. A couple examples of things that we've done that we think could benefit others in the, across the community are, one, a video player. As I said, we're not using the out-of-the-box YouTube video player. It didn't meet our needs. Most importantly, it didn't meet some of our vendor needs around IP and security either. So we built our own custom video player using Vimeo. We have a lot of custom capabilities and a lot of protection and security around that for our IP and for our vendors' IP as well. We also built our own custom EULA X block, so an end user license agreement X block. A lot of our content are in our courses. You need to agree to an end user license agreement before you have access to the content. So we have a custom X block that really that allows the user to review that, accept, and then it would open up the rest of the course to that user. So there's a couple of really neat things, certifications. We're using badging. That comes out of the box, but we've made some modifications to that to allow it to meet our needs at Global Knowledge for our own certifications as well as some of our vendor certifications.
So there are maybe over 700 LMSs out there. Right? Some of them, a lot of them are open source. So one of the, if not the most important factor about Open edX is its scalability, right? And software-wise, that just means that everything is built with an asynchronicity in mind in order to be able to support, an endless number of concurrent users. All of the most popular LMSs, without naming any names, but the ones that we all know, actually cap out at 2,000 concurrent users. And even, in terms of their pricing models, right? If you say, well, I only charge, $20 to $5 per student per month, maybe sometimes you can get a little bit lower than that, but after a year, that's almost $1.5 million, right? With a traditional LMS out there. So Open edX gives us sort of that scalability. And then there is another factor, which is the data, right? It's what can we expect from Open edX? And from out of the box, right? We are all familiar with the rich data that comes out of there, but there is the opportunity to build more, right? And to augment that, to literally, understand everything about the engagement and performance of our students.
Right, a couple more notes about the right stack. So again, open source is a key consideration, but the other part was its extensibility. The edX platform is architected in such a way that you can extend without modifying the core platform. So for example, we had very specific requirements about how to handle enrollments, user information that we could or could not have in the platform around GDPR and other considerations. And the platform is designed, or the edX is designed in such a way that we're able to extend the user data, extend the enrollment data, and preserve the integrity of the edX core platform to make it easier for us to move on to upgrade to the next version. So that's again another consideration. Now, last but not least, and we saw that during the keynote, is legacy. Like everybody, we had our legacy to work with, and different regional back offices, dealing with data versus APIs. So a lot of lessons learned from that as well. So again, training wheels, took the training wheels off. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So again, as a company, we had a legacy of technologies that we leveraged, like the Vimeo player, like global mentoring, so we can do live mentoring, chat with students. We leveraged a number of capabilities that we already had, that we leveraged from edX as well as from our legacy platforms.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, as Paul mentioned, we did leverage a lot of things. As you know, we leveraged our own e-commerce, enrollment, procurement, all of that. We also at Global Knowledge have a lot of other portals and front ends that allow our enterprises through an easy site portal that's customized to each of our enterprise clients, as well as another portal, which is a student kind of gateway to get to many different things. We do a lot of labs, simulations that are not only delivered internally by us, but we work with a lot of third-party vendors as well. So we looked at ways to integrate and extend to be able to leverage what we already had and not have to rebuild anything where it wasn't necessary. So that's the end of our presentation. I think we just wanted to do a quick summary on the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we're going to leave it to Miguel to talk about the good.
Oh, thank you. So it's basically our starting point for our learning platform is what edX.org is using and doing very well. And as long as we're mindful about the ecosystem architectures, then we can really leverage all of the capabilities here.
And for me, I'm going to hit on the bad, and this is really about the use case. So if you look at the history of Open edX, it's really focused on a higher ed use case. You think of higher ed, you have your sessions, you go through your cohorts, you have this course that runs 3 different times over a semester. So the data and the analytics that edX is capturing for that use case is really great. As an enterprise company delivering to enterprises, the use case is much different. The data and analytics that we need to capture is very different as we're delivering it to an L&D manager or a manager who has 50 IT employees taking courses with us. So there's a lot of data in the edX tables, there's great information, but it's not doing a lot of good for our use case. So that's kind of the bad for us, and one of the areas that we're really focusing on to figuring out what we're going to do with all of this data, how we can transcribe it and make good use of it for our enterprise clients.
So I get to deliver the bad news, the ugly part. So the good news is the ugly part, there was no ugly when it came to the Open edX. We really benefited from it tremendously. The ugly part was more on the self-inflicted wounds, the things that we didn't know, that we should have known, the way we worked or didn't work well together. And I think we took all those lessons learned. We deliver on time with quality, but certainly leveraging those lessons learned is helping us moving forward as well. So any questions? Yes, sir.
How did you manage the kind of update maintenance cycle of edX, the platform, versus your release cycle? And how did you think about the processes?
Great question. So we're conservative. We're not an early adopter of the edX instances, and we tried, and it was difficult to try to keep up. So we started with Eucalyptus. We upgraded before launch to Ficus. We're still on Ficus. We're in the process of upgrading to Ginkgo. So from our standpoint, we're one release behind. But we've gone through it once before, and the process is about a month, right? And so, yeah, we're conservative, and we've got architecture. We have a way to roll it out. And it's worked out okay, but we don't want to be at the bleeding edge of the source code. Yes, sir.
Some more mistakes that you guys ran into that ugly didn't really, there could have been a lot of there. Like, what kind of stuff?
Oh, a lot of mistakes. Oh, my.
Transparency.
I think at Global Knowledge, I don't say this is a mistake, but a lot of people didn't understand what a learning platform was, what edX was. So the image across our company internally was that edX was going to fix everything and do everything. And still today, we are dealing with that on a daily basis. GDPR, our data, our infrastructure, everyone thinks that, oh, we brought in edX and it's going to do miracles, and it's only one piece of the puzzle. As Paul talked about the end-state architecture, this is just one small piece of everything. So really, I think it's educating the business internally a bit better up front about what piece of the puzzle this is and what it was and what it could and couldn't do.
One more question?
Yeah, could you talk a little bit more about what system you build your course content in and how you bring that into OpenEdX?
Yeah.
You mentioned that you didn't use the studio builder. I'm just curious to hear.
Yeah, so we have a lightning talk on that, Xyleme. Xyleme was a decision that was made a while back. Again, it's used for instructor-led, the virtual reuse of content, and you can output that in SCORM and other formats. So that was sort of the decision that was made before our time, and it's really about the reuse. What we built is a way to convert the XML from into an OLX and be able to update due to the import. The key part is, as Michelle mentioned, we have these long runs, so we don't have a session every 3 months. So we built a tool to, when we import the OLX, we can do it in a running instance. So we were basically, through GitHub and through a bunch of tools, updating the OLX in a live instance and replicating some of the capabilities of Studio, but through the tooling. And that was a key consideration.
And we also built, one of our goals as a company is to do royalty-based authoring. So using edX, and we know that edX, or Studio is well known in the market as an authoring tool. So we also built the reverse of that, where we can take edX content, our Studio content, and flip it back into Xylem as well.